before anything external touches your day, before the sunlight filters through your window, before messages begin to arrive, before the world asks anything of you. There is a moment that belongs only to you. This moment is not made of noise or motion. It is made of silence. Silence is not the absence of sound. It is the presence of space. It is the quiet arena in which your truest self can appear without being shaped by urgency, expectation, or habit. When you begin your day in silence, you declare to the world, I will act from within, not react to what is outside. Many people wake up and instantly reach for their phones, allowing notifications, news, and distractions to fill the mind before the day has even begun. This is like letting strangers into your house while you are still in your pajamas. Unprepared, exposed, and vulnerable. Silence, on the other hand, is like locking the door for a while. It gives you time to wake up gently, to gather your thoughts, and to meet the day on your own terms. In this silence, you are not yet a worker, a parent, a partner, or a leader. You are simply yourself, breathing, aware, and undisturbed. Sitting in silence is not about achieving something, it is about listening. Not just listening to external sounds like the wind, the birds, or the soft hum of morning life, but listening inward to the quality of your thoughts, to the tension or ease in your body, to the pace of your breath. You might notice restlessness. You might notice calm. It does not matter. What matters is that you notice. This observation alone begins to awaken a deeper kind of intelligence. Not the kind that solves problems, but the kind that understands without needing to analyze. When silence becomes a daily ritual, something subtle shifts within you. You no longer begin the day by running. You begin it by arriving. You are no longer chasing a sense of control. You are cultivating presence. And presence is the foundation of being unshakable. A person who begins their day in silence carries with them a certain stillness, a groundedness that others can feel. They are less easily provoked. They are more deliberate in their choices. They respond rather than react. You don't need an hour or a special room to do this. Even 5 minutes of quiet, eyes closed, spine straight, breathing steady, can change everything. Over time, this silence becomes sacred. It becomes a doorway between the night and the day, between unconscious habit and conscious living. And as you step through it, you carry with you a subtle but powerful force, the ability to begin each day not as a servant of chaos, but as a master of your inner world. The first thought of the day is like the first drop of ink on a blank page. It bleeds outward, shaping the tone, texture, and direction of all the thoughts that follow. Many people wake and fall into thinking automatically. Worries about work, irritation over not sleeping enough, the to-do list that suddenly feels like a burden. Without awareness, the mind becomes a passive receiver of whatever thoughts it has been conditioned to repeat. But when you pause and deliberately choose your first thought, you begin to live by design, not by default. This choice doesn't have to be poetic or profound. It only has to be intentional. It could be something simple, thank you for another day, or today I will move with patience. What matters is that you place it there like a stone at the center of a stream, giving structure to the current. The mind, like water, will always flow, but with the right starting point, it flows with clarity and direction rather than confusion and turbulence. One conscious thought can anchor you amidst the drift of unconscious ones. The first thought is more than mental. It carries emotion, energy, and intention. If your first thought is worry, your body tightens. If your first thought is gratitude, your breath deepens. If your first thought is, "Oh, I don't want to deal with this day," you've already planted resistance before the day has even offered anything to resist. But if your first thought is a reminder of your strength, your purpose, or simply your presence, then even challenges become part of the path rather than obstacles to it. Choosing your first thought is a subtle form of leadership. You become the leader of your own mind, not a follower of its fears, its habits, or its conditioning. This discipline also builds momentum. A day that begins with presence tends to carry more presence. Just as one false step can cause you to stumble, one strong step can give rhythm and balance to the journey ahead. The power of this rule lies in its simplicity. It asks for no tools, no preparation, only awareness the moment you open your eyes. Over time, this practice becomes a mental ritual, a quiet agreement between your deeper self and the day ahead. You no longer wake up as a victim of thought, you wake as its author. And in that single, small decision, there is great strength, because when the first word of the inner dialogue is placed by you, not by fear, you begin to live each day as something chosen, not something endured. The body is not separate from the mind. It is the vessel that holds it, the ground upon which thought, feeling, and energy walk. When you wake in the morning, your body is often still caught in the weight of sleep. The muscles are slow, the breath is shallow, the circulation is quiet. To begin the day without moving the body is like trying to light a fire with wet wood. The potential is there, but the energy is not yet ready to rise. Movement is the spark that brings your inner fire to life. This movement need not be intense. It is not about punishment, perfection, or performance. It is about awakening. Whether you stretch your limbs gently in silence, walk slowly in the morning light, or practice forms that require precision and breath, the purpose is the same: to bring your awareness into the body and remind yourself that you are alive, present, and capable. Through motion, you connect with yourself on a level that thinking alone cannot reach. When the body begins to move, energy that was stagnant begins to circulate. Blood flows, joints loosen, the breath deepens. With each inhale and exhale, the fog of sleep and inertia begins to lift. You begin to feel more centered, more vital, more here. This simple act of movement, done with intention, is like tuning an instrument. You align your body with your mind and your mind with your breath, and suddenly the whole system begins to work in harmony. More than just physical readiness, movement influences the emotional and spiritual state. A stagnant body traps emotion. A body that moves freely is a body that processes and releases what it does not need to carry. Even 5 or 10 minutes of deliberate movement in the morning can shift your internal landscape completely. What was heavy becomes light. What was dull becomes clear. What was anxious becomes focused. Movement becomes a language the spirit understands, not spoken in words, but in rhythm, balance, and breath. Over time, morning movement becomes more than a habit. It becomes a ritual, a sacred time where you remind yourself not just of how to move, but why you move. To meet the day with strength, with awareness, and with dignity. You no longer stumble into the day half awake, half tuned. You enter it with posture, with clarity, and with the quiet confidence of someone who knows they are in control of their own energy. Each morning, the world will offer you countless paths, demands to fulfill, roles to play, tasks to complete. But before you step into the movement of the day, it is essential to ask yourself, how do I want to show up for it? Not just what you want to achieve, but the quality you want to embody as you move through it. This is where intention becomes a guiding force, quiet yet powerful. It shapes your inner compass, not by telling you what to do, but by reminding you who to be while you do it. Unlike goals which focus on outcome, intention focuses on presence. A goal says, I will finish this project. An intention says, I will bring patience and clarity to every step of this project. The goal is about the finish line. The intention is about the posture with which you walk the path. When you begin your day by consciously choosing how you wish to live, with kindness, focus, humility, or discipline, you infuse each action with meaning. You are no longer moving automatically, you are living deliberately. This simple act of intention setting can be done in silence, in writing, or through breath. It could be one word, calmness, strength, compassion, or a full sentence like, today I will not rush through my moments, or today I will remain steady no matter what comes. What matters most is not the language, but the presence you give to it. Speak it inwardly and let it echo through your awareness. You are not setting rules for the day. You are planting a seed that will grow through your choices. Throughout the day, situations will arise that challenge your peace, test your patience, or distract your focus. It is easy in those moments to become reactive, to forget your deeper values and act from habit. But a morning intention acts like a lighthouse. It reminds you of the path you chose before the storm. Even if you are pulled away briefly, you know how to return. This returning again and again to your intention is where strength is built, not in never wavering, but in always remembering. By setting a clear intention in the morning, you align yourself with something deeper than schedule or routine. You align yourself with meaning. And in a world that often pulls your attention outward, to noise, to speed, to surface level achievement, intention calls you inward, to depth, to consistency, to integrity. It becomes a quiet promise you make to yourself, not to be perfect, but to be present. Not to control everything, but to respond with the awareness of who you chose to be when the day began. The first moments of your day are sacred. They are the gateway between the stillness of sleep and the momentum of waking life. Yet, in modern life, it has become common to hand this sacred space over to the external world, to headlines, messages, notifications, and the endless scroll of other people's lives. This intrusion may seem harmless, but it plants seeds of distraction, comparison, and stress before your own thoughts have even had the chance to settle. When you begin the day by consuming rather than observing, you allow the outside world to direct your inner state. The mind is most sensitive and absorbent when you wake. It is like soft clay, easily shaped by whatever touches it first. If the first thing you read is news filled with conflict, your nervous system tightens. If the first thing you see is someone else's highlight reel, comparison quietly creeps in. And if the first thing you do is scroll without purpose, your ability to focus begins to dull. Morning is not the time to absorb random input. It is the time to cultivate clarity. What you feed your mind in those first waking moments will echo throughout the day. Controlling your inputs doesn't mean isolation or ignorance. It means discernment. Just as you choose what to eat to nourish the body, You must choose what to allow into your awareness to nourish the mind. Replace screen time with presence. Instead of reading emails, read your breath. Instead of checking messages, check in with yourself. The world will still be there in 30 minutes, but your ability to meet it with calm and focus depends on how you've prepared your inner space beforehand. Even if you must use technology early, do so with intention. Turn off unnecessary notifications the night before. Choose to open only what is essential. Ask yourself, is this input helping me live with more awareness, or is it cluttering my clarity? You are not just a consumer of information. You are the curator of your consciousness. Begin your day like an artist preparing their studio. Clean the space, organize your tools, and decide what energy you want to create with. By protecting your morning from digital noise, you reclaim authority over your attention. You start the day anchored in your own presence, not pulled in 1,000 directions by algorithms and alerts. In doing so, you strengthen a subtle form of discipline, the ability to respond to life from within rather than reacting to every external stimulus. And in a world that constantly competes for your mind, that discipline becomes a quiet form of freedom. Each day presents a series of choices, some easy, some uncomfortable. Most people naturally move toward comfort, postponing what is difficult in favor of what is familiar or effortless. But every time you delay the uncomfortable, you reinforce avoidance. Instead, choose to meet at least one challenge early in your day. It can be something physical, mental, or emotional. A workout, a cold shower, a difficult conversation, or a task you've been putting off. When you begin your day by facing resistance directly, you tell your mind, I am stronger than my excuses. The value of doing something hard first thing in the morning is not just in the action itself. It's in what it awakens within you. The mind often magnifies the difficulty of tasks before they are done. But when you confront them directly and complete them, even imperfectly, you strip away fear and build momentum. The rest of your day begins to feel lighter. Other challenges no longer appear as mountains, but as hills. Your self-talk changes from hesitation to capability. Your identity shifts subtly from someone who avoids discomfort to someone who moves through it. Discipline is not a talent, it is a habit. And like any habit, it is trained through repetition. When you build the muscle of doing what is hard before the world asks you to, you become more resilient, more prepared, more mentally sharp. You no longer wait for external pressure to move you. You initiate challenge from within, and that makes you dangerous to doubt, to delay, and to self-sabotage. That inner fire, the willingness to act before comfort arrives, becomes one of your greatest allies. Doing something difficult doesn't mean doing something extreme. It means doing something intentional that requires effort, focus, and self-mastery. That could be writing one uncomfortable email, resisting an old temptation, or spending 5 focused minutes on a skill you usually avoid. These acts may seem small, but their impact is deep. Every time you prove to yourself that you can endure discomfort, you expand your capacity for life. You move through resistance, not around it, and that is where growth lies. Over time, these early acts of discipline become your training ground for the rest of the day. You carry into every meeting, every challenge, every interaction a quiet certainty. I have already done something hard today. I have already moved past my limits once. That confidence doesn't need to be loud. It is a calm, grounded strength. It's not ego. It's evidence, built not on what you hope to be, but on what you've already proven to yourself by showing up when it would have been easier not to. Throughout the day, the world will try to pull you in many directions. Tasks will multiply, people will interrupt, emotions will rise, and thoughts will speed up. Amid this noise, the mind easily loses its balance, swinging between anticipation and regret, between pressure and distraction. But there is one constant that always remains with you, one thread that leads back to presence, clarity, and calm, the breath. To return to the breath is to return to yourself, to the stillness beneath the surface of life's motion. The breath is the most reliable guide to your inner state. When you're anxious, it shortens. When you're stressed, it tightens. When you're angry, it becomes shallow and sharp. But just as breath reflects your emotional state, it also has the power to shape it. A single deep, conscious breath sends a message to the body: I am safe, I am aware, I am present. That message ripples outward, softening tension, slowing the racing mind, and creating space between stimulus and response. This is not about controlling the breath every second, but about remembering its power when you need it. You can be in a meeting, stuck in traffic, or standing in a long line, and with one inhale, one slow exhale, shift your entire state. You don't need to speak. You don't need to explain. You simply breathe. And in that small, invisible act, you take back control. You remind yourself that while you may not control the world, you do control the way you meet it. Making breath awareness a daily practice begins in the morning, but it continues in the quiet spaces between doing. A pause before you open your laptop. A slow breath before you answer a challenging message. A few conscious inhales before you enter a room. These small rituals of returning to the breath strengthen your ability to respond with intention instead of reaction. Over time, they become anchors, moments of stillness that keep you grounded. Even in the midst of chaos, breath is more than biology. It is rhythm. It is presence, it is life itself. And the beauty of this practice is that it requires nothing outside of you. You don't need silence. You don't need a cushion. You don't need time. You only need awareness and the willingness to return. Again and again. Because the breath does not judge, it does not rush, it does not resist. It waits patiently for you to remember that in every moment, no matter how scattered the mind may be, stillness is always just one breath away. In the beginning, discipline often takes the form of structure. We create routines, write lists, set reminders. These are helpful tools, like scaffolding that supports a new building. But the goal is not to live within the structure forever. The goal is to internalize the discipline so deeply that it becomes a way of being. When you treat these morning rules as mere items to complete and check off, you risk turning presence into performance. But when they become a part of your natural rhythm, they start to live inside you, effortless, quiet, and strong. Habits built with care carry power. They no longer require force. They require awareness. You don't have to convince yourself to breathe or stretch or sit in stillness. You simply do it because it's who you've become. In this way, discipline transforms into identity. Morning practice no longer feels like something separate from life. It is life. The small, steady choices you make each day form the shape of your character. Not through dramatic effort, but through consistent embodiment. The danger of checklists is that they emphasize completion over connection. You can sit in silence and still be distracted. You can move your body without being present in it. You can write an intention without truly feeling it. The purpose of these morning rules is not to get them done, but to live them fully. One moment of deep awareness is more powerful than an hour of mechanical habit. That is the number R. What matters is not how much you do, but the quality of attention you bring to what you do. Let your morning become a ritual, not a routine. A ritual is something sacred, something you approach with reverence and presence. It is done not because you have to, but because you know it aligns you with your higher self. When your actions are infused with meaning, they begin to nourish you rather than drain you. This is how you build a life of strength without rigidity, by grounding yourself in practices that serve not just your productivity, but your peace, your clarity, your inner stillness. Over time, these morning rules no longer feel like rules at all. They feel like home, quiet reminders that no matter what the day brings, you have a foundation within you that cannot be shaken. This is not about perfection. It's about consistency with presence. If you miss a day, you begin again. If you forget one rule, you remember the next. There is no failure, only return. And in that return, you slowly carve out a life where discipline is no longer effort. It is simply who you are when you are most aligned.